is the Fox 5 News Block.
Officials at this hour are trying to figure out why a Marquee came crashing down onto the sidewalk at the Hotel St. George in Brooklyn Heights. And panic on the PATH train as a fire causes massive disruptions in the middle of the morning rush hour commute. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Arthur Chien. Welcome to the News Block. Those stories in a moment. We begin with a live look outside right now. Let's bring in Liv Johnson to talk about this. For our first look in the forecast coming in today, it seemed like the quality of the air was something that you were concerned about.
Yeah, we are under an air quality alert through a lot of the tri-state area because of the smoke from Canadian wildfires. So that's through New York City, out on Long Island. It's taking up Connecticut. It's taking up the Hudson Valley. There's some parts of New Jersey that are in the clear, but still we had a relatively hazy morning throughout the entire tri-state. Now, right now, the air quality is not too serious. The last time I checked, it was in this moderate range at about 72. So it could be a lot worse, getting unhealthy for sensitive groups in about the 101 to 150 range. And we're still under a little bit of a threat for that, and we do still have some smoke pushing into our area. So I'd expect tomorrow to start off kind of hazy as well. But so far, no alert has been issued, and I think there will be slight improvements for our Tuesday. Other than that, we just have beautiful temperatures and beautiful conditions. 88 degrees in New York City right now. We have the same thing out on Long Island. It's a little cooler for East Hampton, just 79 degrees. 84 for Hartford and Poughkeepsie. We have 82 down the shore in New Jersey and 89 for Newark. Now, it is nice and comfortable. Those are warmer temperatures, but those dew point temperatures are pretty low, so it's not feeling too humid right now. Most of the dew point temperatures are in the mid-50s. It starts to feel uncomfortable in the mid-60s, and even down the shore in New Jersey, it's still feeling nice and cool. Lows tonight, 70 degrees in New York City, but most of us will just be in the mid to upper 60s, so still pretty mild for those overnight lows. Tomorrow, a bit warmer, and we do get a little bit more humid as the week goes on, but still looking at a pretty nice week and nice weekend ahead. Arthur?
No 90s this week. All right, thanks so much, Liv. Well, we're just getting some information in right now regarding an active investigation into the death of a 1-year-old girl. On Friday, police say they responded to a call of a child in distress at a daycare on Story Avenue in the Bronx. We are told the child was found unconscious in the pool. EMS took her to Montefiore Hospital where she was pronounced dead. The city medical examiner's office will now determine the exact cause of her death. And also in developing news, questions and concerns being raised this afternoon after a massive Marquee comes crashing down outside the Hotel St. George in Brooklyn Heights. It also houses a very busy subway station. The incident has forced it to shut down in the meantime, and there's no word exactly on when it will reopen. Fox 5's Meredith Gorman has the latest at this hour from Brooklyn Heights. How's it looking over there, Meredith?
Arthur, well, it's very loud. You can see that there are some workers up here behind me dismantling what's left of the Marquee and trying to dismantle the remnants that were left behind when this Marquee collapsed on Sunday. The Clark Street subway station remains closed. The 2 and 3 trains are going, but they're skipping this stop with no estimate of when the subway station will reopen. MTA New York City Transit President Demetrius Critchlow said around 10 a.m. this morning he met with the Department of Buildings, engineers, contractors, and the owner of the building. He said that just Friday he toured the site with council member Lincoln Ressler after multiple complaints from constituents and those storing things inside the building just 2 days before the collapse, but that they did not discuss the Marquee. Now, the Department of Buildings has issued 2 violations to the owners of 100 Henry Street St. George Hotel Associates for failing to properly maintain this building. Now, Critchlow said after his interagency meeting at the site this morning that this old Hotel St. George building, which now has stores and student housing inside, has completely separate ownership from New York City Transit, so they don't have any responsibility for the Marquee collapse. But he mentioned that this building has had issues and that ownership has been unresponsive to them.
This building has been, if you speak to many of the customers and the tenants that are in it, have been issues for a little while that have not been resolved. And so when you look at the fact that there is an open violation for the building, that says that the owner of the building needs to be more responsive in repairs.
Those who live in the neighborhood are shocked. Many people have been walking by this morning and afternoon in disbelief and saying it's a miracle that no one was hurt.
Yeah, it's a little bit frightening. It's my understanding that some building codes were not up to par, And it's concerning. I'm very glad no one was hurt. And now, of course, the subway is not running, which is an inconvenience for everyone. But yeah, it's a little disconcerting, to say the least.
It's like a miracle. It's a miracle because it's a busy area. The diner is very crowded all the time, so it's a miracle.
Again, authorities still don't know when the Clark Street subway station will reopen. They need to clear this Marquee area on Henry Street right here, and then they're also dismantling the other Marquee on the Clark Street side of the old Hotel St. George. So it could be a couple days before things are up and running here. We'll hopefully have more updates later tonight for everybody.
All right, thanks so much, Meredith. Well, PATH train service is back to normal now after a track fire broke out underneath the train during the busy morning rush period. Video posted to social media shows the PATH train quickly filling with smoke. The Port Authority says this happened just after 6 a.m. at the Newport station. Passengers on an eastbound PATH train had to be evacuated. 13 people were treated for smoke inhalation. 9 of them were taken to the hospital to be evaluated.
I was heading to 60 Hudson to meet a colleague of mine, but I think I'm going to reschedule. Like when things like this happen on a Monday, it kind of tells you maybe you just want to reschedule.
If you can, that's great. Well, the cause of this fire is now under investigation. A 20-year-old woman is a woman who graduated from Scarsdale High School last year. She's being detained by ICE and now faces deportation. A rally was held over the weekend in support of Yeon Soo-go. She's being held now at an immigration facility in Louisiana after being taken into custody during a routine visa hearing here in Manhattan last week. We are told she is the daughter of an Episcopalian priest and has been here on a religious visa since 2021. Her attorney says her visa is good through December and that she has an application to extend it even longer. But the Department of Homeland Security says she overstayed her visa that expired more than 2 years ago. Her next court appearance is set for October. Developing news. On Sunday, dozens of Texas state Democrats fled their state in a last-ditch effort to stop that state from redrawing maps to allow more Republican candidates to win there. Now, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is threatening to remove those Democrats who left the state over the Trump-backed redistricting plan. Many of the Texas House Democrats fled to New York here and also to Illinois. Abbott is giving them less than 24 hours to return in that threat. Democratic governors are threatening to redraw congressional maps in their states. New York Governor Kathy Hochul addressed this issue this morning.
But I cannot ignore that the playing field has changed dramatically. And shame on us if we ignore that fact and cling tight to the vestiges of the past. That era is over. Donald Trump eliminated that forever.
The new congressional maps drawn by Texas Republicans would create 5 new Republican-leaning seats. Developing news also from one of the wars abroad. Russia has a few more days to reach a ceasefire deal with Ukraine before the U.S. takes economic action. This deadline comes after President Donald Trump sent nuclear submarines to the region in response to some threatening comments from Russia's former president. Fox correspondent Rebecca Castor has more from Washington.
Frustrations are building between the U.S. and Russia as President Trump continues to pressure Moscow to end its war with Ukraine.
We stopped a lot of wars. This is the one we seem to be, this should be the easiest to stop, and it's not.
Last month, Trump gave Russian President Vladimir Putin a 50-day ultimatum to reach a peace deal, but quickly cut that timeline to this Friday after realizing Russia was not letting up on its relentless strikes on Ukraine. Trump is threatening to impose more Russian sanctions and tariffs, but is skeptical that will even make a difference.
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions, so we'll see what happens.
The president's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, will head to Russia later this week to take another stab at peace talks. It's set to be an awkward meeting after Trump deployed 2 nuclear submarines to the region after sparring online with Russia's former president, Dmitry Medvedev.
What Medvedev did here to precipitate the president's actions, it once again brandished the threat of nuclear weapons use. The president has heard this, and he wants them to know unequivocally that he's in charge here.
With tensions high between Trump and Putin, the Kremlin continues to cozy up to China. A Chinese sub is in Russia for joint military drills this week, But Moscow says these are defensive exercises and not directed at other countries. President Trump is also considering secondary sanctions for countries that buy Russian energy products like China and India. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Back to our area, some people are still shaken up from Saturday night's 3.0 magnitude earthquake centering on Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. It was felt across New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut.
We don't have the same ratio of or frequency of earthquakes as in California, for example, or South America, but we do have a dynamic geologic framework that is going to produce earthquakes. So again, even though they do not happen as frequent, they do happen, and we can expect more earthquakes to happen in the future.
Luckily, no damage or injuries were reported. The last earthquake in our area was April of last year. Scientists say it is common to have an earthquake in our region every 2 to 3 years. We've now had them in back-to-back years. A horrible sight for hot dog fans. Oh no, a truckload of tube steaks spilling out across a Pennsylvania highway after a crash on Friday. State police say the truck had a mechanical problem while traveling on Interstate 83, causing it to crash into another vehicle. Then when the truck scraped along a concrete divider, the trailer ripped open and the hot dogs were sent free. 4 people suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The Shrewsbury police fire chief made light of the incident, saying, quote, "Hot dogs are very slippery. I did not know that." He relished his moment in the limelight. All right, the first ever Nomad Jazz Festival is now underway. The music-filled festival of events kicked off with the Gilded Gatsby Jazz Party over on the Flatiron North Plaza, where guests were encouraged to costume up and travel back in time. The 8-day event features live jazz music, dancing, and more throughout that neighborhood. All right, let's take a live look outside right now, and well, it looks a little hazy. It would otherwise be a beautiful day. For more on that, let's bring in Liv Johnson with our forecast. Hi, Liv.
Hi, Arthur. Yeah, overall a beautiful day other than that smoke and some poor air quality, but we're a little bit above average, back to where we usually are this time of year. 88 degrees is the high so far in New York City. Same thing out of Long Island. We got a little closer to 90 for Newark. 89 degrees is their high so far today. 84 for Hartford and 84 for Poughkeepsie. So like I said, pretty much back to where we usually are this time of year. Our average is around 85 and our record was 97 degrees set back in 2007. Now it does get a little bit more humid as the week goes on, especially in some of our coastal areas like Long Island and down the shore in New Jersey, but still we have a decent weather week ahead of us. A little warmer tomorrow and then cooling back down by the end of the week. A couple shower chances here and there, but overall looking pretty dry and looks like a nice week and weekend for us ahead. All right, we earned it. Thanks so much, Liv. Well, that's your news block for now. I'm Arthur Chien. Thanks so much for joining us. Tune into the 5 o'clock news on Fox 5 and right here on Fox Local for all of the day's news as it develops. There's a lot going on. We'll see you back here tomorrow.